dwellers, and welcome to the basement. It's time for this week's comic book review, and this time around, we're talking about Doctor Who's Supremacy of the Cybermen, issue number 3. To my left, you will see a gradual slideshow of pages of the comic that I scanned for you to enjoy and be able to see some of what I was looking at when I was reading this. The cover date of this issue is October of 2016. The publisher is Titan Comics. I've already covered issues 1 and 2, but the story so far is that Rassilon, wanting revenge for being exiled from Gallifrey uh, by the 12th Doctor, forms a deadly alliance with the Cybermen, giving them access to Gallifreyan technology which allows them to time travel and basically rewrite history. Now, the cover of the issue that I have is cover A, which features the 10th Doctor doing his best Spider-Man impression. And no, seriously, you will see it when it comes up on the slideshow here. That if you, or heck, without this, put this up here. If you reposition or redesign this hand of the 10th Doctor to maybe something similar to what Spider-Man would do with the two fingerprints and everything like that, you could swear that this is just Peter Parker swinging around. And there we go. Okay, so I forgot the timer that I set on the slideshow. So that's what's the thing. I do this live the hard drive. What can I say? Also make note of the Cyberman head in the upper left corner here, or upper right corner, excuse me. Over the course of all 5 issues of Supremacy of the Cybermen, we see that the head of the Cyberman logo here ends up being cracked and exposing a human skull underneath. It's a kind of cool effect that shows the progression of the story beyond just the actual numbers. Now, as I said, this is cover A, which means that there are 2 variants. The cover B is a photo cover featuring David Tennant. Cover C features the Cybermen, and I think they were from the 5th Doctor era, around like Earthshock, somewhere around that time period. Now, this next portion of this review is obviously breaking down the story, so spoilers for those of you who have not read this issue, but I do announce what comics I'm going to review a week in advance, so for future reference. The story, and we'll do this in the order of 11, 10, 9, and then 12 in terms of the Doctor storylines, because we got 4 separate ongoing story arcs, but I've summarized them up rather nicely so you know what's going on. On prehistoric Earth, with the 11th Doctor, he and his companion Alicia enter a Silurian workshop, which has been converted into a Cyberman conversion chamber, basically a chamber of horrors. And since the Silurians were in hibernation during this time period, they basically it's a supply of bodies for instant conversion. The Doctor also discovers that the Cybermen are getting packets of data from the very end of time itself, which should be impossible, but we know different now, don't we? When they are pursued by Cyber Silurians, the Doctor figures the best to get Alicia to safety using a transporter to send her to where the TARDIS is supposed to be, so that she can use the library protocols to get home. Considering what's happening throughout time, that's not a good idea. The Doctor also turns to confront the Cyber Silurian, knowing that traditionally the Cybermen cannot convert a Time Lord, but I'm guessing, assuming that since they have access to Rassilon, the Cyber Silurians have certainly overcome that flaw, saying that, yeah, it's like you are mistaken, and proceeds to begin the cyber converting process. On Santar, the 10th Doctor explains to his companions Gabby and Cindy as to why he's going to go along with the Santar's leader's plan to be the field marshal of the last great Santaran army. The reason being is that the Santarans have multiple hundreds upon thousands of cloning facilities, and if the Cybermen can get their hands on those, the Cybermen can clone endless amount of bodies that can be instantly upgraded to make even more Cybermen, basically making an endless supply of soldiers. The Cybermen would overrun the galaxy because they can always reproduce more and more Cybermen just by cloning themselves, or basic genetic material to make a humanoid form. Um, And to make matters worse for the 10th Doctor, when the Cybermen attack, he recognizes the portals that they're appearing through as being Gallifreyan technology that should not exist anymore because of everything associated with the time warp. The Doctor is so distracted by this that he is nearly shot down by a Cyberman, but the Santar Prime, the original Santaran, takes the proverbial bullet for the 10th Doctor, but things end up going from bad to worse with the arrival of the gigantic Cyber Kings. And if memory serves me right, we've only really seen one instance of a Cyber King in Doctor Who, and that was with the Christmas special where the Doctor ends up going to the guy who gets amnesia and thinks he himself is the Doctor, but it's really just a dude who happened to open one of those Cybermen memory core things and get the. And those are the Cyber Kings right there. Pretty damn imposing and a lot more threatening than the Victorian one that we saw in the episode whose title I cannot remember. In the year 2006, the TARDIS is imploding again, and the ninth Doctor, Captain Jack Harkness, Rose, and Jackie Tyler barely escape from it. The plan is to get to the flyer that they were flying in issues 1 and 2, and to find a safe spot, figure out what's going on, and get things back in order. They make a run for it, with Jack supplying cover fire, carrying the weapons that the Doctor says for him not to carry. However, Rose suddenly begins to convert into a Cyberman and shoots Captain Jack down. I'm not sure how to feel about this because I don't particularly care for either Rose Tyler or Jack Harkness, but in and of itself is very, very damn cool. It's in its own way. This is the one cool moment associated with Rose Tyler. In this comic, she's converted into a Cyberman, and I know I scanned it. It'll come up in the slideshow shortly, but until then, take a look at that. That in and of itself is just badass. I'm just like, I love. It's like, yes, this is what Rose Tyler what really should have happened to her. She should have been converted into a Cyberman and gunned down Captain Jack. Oh, Torchwood fans are going to hate me. Anyway, so that's happening with the Doctor's 3 previous incarnations. So what's happening with the 12th Doctor in this issue? Well, he meets with the General, who explains that Rassilon did something to the Eye of Harmony, which prevented the Time Lords for counterattacking the invading Cybermen and disabling basically all the battle TARDISes. However, the Doctor screams out in pain as the Cybermen's rewriting of history and everything that's happening with his previous incarnations is having an effect on him as he's getting the aftershocks of new memories appearing in his head in a sudden burst, including new memories involving his sixth incarnation, as the 4th Doctor, as well as the War Doctor. And the comic ends with the Doctor saying, okay, all this is going on, let's have a chit chat with Rassilon and to see if we can get this all sorted out in a way. So, what are my actual thoughts on the story? All 4 plots that is running through this miniseries get advanced fairly nicely, but the pacing is so quick, we're just getting the main point that's happening in each individual segment. Oh, and this time around, a lot of time is spent on the 9th, 10th, and 11th Doctors, with the 12th Doctor being kind of just the book, literally the book in the first couple and the last couple of pages. But at the very least, the 10th and 11th Doctors are discover that the Cybermen are getting help from obviously someone who has access to Gallifreyan technology. The 9th Doctor is basically useless at this point in the story. The artwork, basically the same issues that I've had with the previous 2 issues, with 4 different artistic styles being being presented. The 9th Doctor content just looks bad in comparison to the other 3, though the artwork specifically on the 10th Doctor segments gave it a run for its money of looking this downright awful. That said, the splash page with Cyber Rose, as indicated here, standing over Captain Jack, is just freaking awesome. There is another splash page that I don't think I did not scan for this review segment that shows the 10th Doctor getting memories of the other from his previous incarnations. Matter of fact, I said I can hold the darn thing up. Why don't I just do that? And this is the other splash page that I'm referring to here. That indicates the 6th War Doctor fourth, and that's also the 11th Doctor being dragged to a Cyberman conversion chamber. So what's the overall verdict on this issue? It's a fine middle chapter of the 5-part story with uh, a little explanation as to why the Time Lords were not fighting back, seeing 2 of the 3 Doctors getting uh, 2 of the Doctor's previous incarnations realizing that the Cybermen are getting help, plus the dangers are even increased with the arrival of the Cyber Kings, Cyber Rose, and the ability of the Cyber Solarians to convert a Time Lord. Now, we will, of course, return to Doctor Who Supremacy of the Cybermen down the line, more than likely next month in February, so it gives you plenty of time to track down issue number 4. Next week's comic, however, is going to be a little bit different. It's now everyone knows what a comic book trade paperback is. It's something like there we go. It's something like this. It's full size with the issues containing within. However, next week's comic is going to be a trade paperback, but not in this style. No, we are going to revisit Mystery, a comic that a franchise from the independent era of the 1980s, and take a look at an actual trade paperback that is actually collects the comic. So we'll take a look at this next week. Between now and then, of course, we'll be continuing our look at the Netflix original series, a series of unfortunate events. We, of course, got Gotham and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reviews next week as well. We'll be welcoming back to the basement Supergirl, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, and The Flash. And I will announce how I will be reviewing the shows that share multiple time slots and things of that nature over the weekend as well when I post my schedule for the week. So, till next time, my friends, and you are my friends, be kind, please subscribe, and we'll see you next time.